You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello, and yes, you are listening to Orange County's longest running business talk show. And I am your host, Rick Franzi. And boy, do we have a good show planned for you today. Why do you ask? Because Bradley Ketchel is our guest. He is the founder of Ketchel Axle Systems. Bradley, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. I always like to have inventors and founders on the program. So let's go back a little bit and pick up your origin story. What was the motivation, inspiration for you to start Ketchel Axle Systems?
Yeah, I'm born and raised Detroit, Michigan. So I came up through the automotive and commercial truck industries and, gearhead, gas. I wasn't really into EVs right until the EV market hit. Okay. And, in particular with the commercial truck market, there's just a lot of negativity around it. And, it can't be done. It's not efficient to do it. The batteries, the this, the that. And you hear a lot about batteries. The batteries aren't efficient enough. They're too heavy. The trucks are too heavy. And no one was talking about the powertrain. So the powertrain is essentially taking the battery energy from the battery and grounding it to the ground. And the current industry is very poor at doing that. So they're very inefficient systems out there. And what that does is it increases the cost of these vehicles. It increases the weight of the vehicles, and it makes them non-marketable. So it's part of the reason that the market penetration, in my opinion, has been delayed or slowed is because the available systems out there. So there's really, there's the talk and the walk. And I decided, if I'm going to sit there and, criticize, some of these other powertrain systems or the market or the industry, I need to walk the walk. So that's how I got started is, creating a system, developing a system that would highlight what can be done in medium duty commercial trucks. And that was the birth of the eRhino.
Okay, so it's kind of been my experience that evolution happens in fits and starts, and many times there needs to be a breakthrough technology that then opens up the opportunity that people have been looking at. How much of the cost of a design does the powertrain in an EV truck like this represent traditionally? How much of a cost factor is it?
Well, it's more. So in a traditional vehicle, if you were going to talk like an ICE, the engine, transmission, prop shaft, axles, it's a significant portion of the vehicle. Now with an EV, it's more based on the battery. The battery is kind of the big cost, but then second would be the powertrain. However, the powertrain is really the heart of the vehicle. The batteries are just kind of dumb. They're just hanging out there, providing power. The
doing their job
is right. The powertrain is really the key to do what you want to do efficiently, effectively, and allow for optimal packaging of other systems in the vehicle.
So I can't help but notice that there appears to be a powertrain behind you.
There is. Yeah. So that's the Class 3 eRhino, our first concept prototype that we displayed the ACT show and work truck week in Indianapolis. So that's the display of what our system is. It's packages Class 2B all the way up to Class 8, handles the loads of the Class 8. So that's kind of this part of the design and the secret sauce here. The market's spread thin with a lot of manufacturers creating low volume vehicles. So this is a way to sort of capture all those vehicles, all the crumbs of the market, and develop one powertrain system that would be the best in class for every series of truck from Class 2 to 8. And
how hard of a task was that? That just sounds you're an engineer, you're a technologist.
There's probably 20 iterations and 5,000 hours or something. So yeah, there's a whole thermal system in there and all the gearing, lubrications, and the motor design, and it adds up. And to be able to fit the broadness, if you were going to pick let's say design even a similar axle for one vehicle, it would be significantly easier to do that. But when you have to look at the vehicle requirements for all the different vehicles across all these platforms, it adds some complexity. But in the end, it eliminates all the complexity. So it's upfront work, essentially, is what we've done.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say earlier is that possibly this powertrain that you have developed and invented could be one of those breakthrough technologies that then opens up the market opportunity for these light duty vehicles that people are so negative on the ability to be powered by batteries. Is that too big of a statement, or do you think I'm on point?
No, I mean, we're claiming we can save around $20,000 on a vehicle system, on an electrified vehicle system, and maintain or perform better than the systems that are out there today. On the weight side, we've saved over 1,000 pounds, close to 1,400 pounds on Class 5 and Class 6 trucks. So on the medium, kind of the center of what we're trying to do in the medium duty, we've been weight neutral with the ICE vehicles, whereas all other systems have been hundreds, if not thousands of pounds heavier.
And so to your earlier point, the heavier the systems are, the more drain on the battery, the shorter the distance. It's like,
yeah, it's a death by 1,000 cuts,
right?
So you can't package batteries, you space them out, the battery efficiency drops. You got made huge brackets holding them, the mass goes up, the powertrain mass. So all this stuff just starts to add up. And, it's, while I'll throw the number $20,000 out there, the axle might save $2,000 to $3,000. But it's the impact on the vehicle that allows you to save all the other dollars and all the other mass and packaging and all the other things that sort of come together to accumulate to that $20,000 mark.
Yeah, not to get too geeky, and I am not a technically trained engineer as you are, although I did see you got your master's from Penn State, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm old enough.
A bad thing, or
only from the perspective that I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm old enough to know when Pittsburgh and Penn State had a rivalry that was real and vigorous back in the day. So that may predate you a bit, but I have learned to appreciate the graduates of Penn State as well. So I will bury the hatchet and move on. One of the things that you talked about was the inefficiency that then diminishes the amount of available power that the battery has. And that sounds like part of the problem that you're attempting to solve with your solutions is also that inefficiency in the system transfer of energy.
Yeah, so I mean, a big part of that is the axle efficiency itself. So the axle unit and what we were showing back here is far more efficient than the other powertrain systems. But its impact on the rest of the vehicle is where you get added efficiencies, added weight loss, which again equates to efficiency gains. And it really is becoming kind of the great reset, because a lot of the axle manufacturers that are out there, they make traditional axles, they know how to do what they're doing, and they try to sort of maintain that same philosophy. Right. But that may not be the best philosophy moving forward into the electrification for medium duty vehicles. And that's why startups like Ketchel Axle Systems has the ability to compete and beat these major companies. Most of our competitors are 10 billion and up, and so they have tons of resources, unlimited resources, unlimited money, and but we got to use that. I have to use that to my strength. So these things that maybe were a strength at one time are now a weakness. And we have the ability to go to different motor suppliers and power electronic suppliers, and where the in-house technologies at some of these larger companies may not be as good as some of these other companies out there. So it allows us to do some things that these other companies just can't do.
That's a powerful lesson to remember for entrepreneurs who are breaking into existing markets. I have this saying by Henry Ford here on my back wall. And, if I remember correctly, when the car first came around, it was called the horseless carriage. And when television first started, they were taking radio shows and putting them on to TV because that's what they knew. And so in your space, yes, they're steeped in all this engineering knowledge, but it's constrained by all their culture of what they have built. They don't see the problem in a way
Yeah.
that someone is free and liberated by not being constrained by that does.
Well, I mean, and they have to answer to shareholders and
Mm.
6 levels of management, and hey, we're going to throw out $100 million of capital to make this brand new thing. I mean, and I came from that, right? So I know that I've worked at these companies and for decades, right? And I've seen that. I've seen the high volume guys, the low volume, and sort of how they think. And it's a unique proposition because you're taking the traditional gearing and axle structures and loading, and you're adding electronics, power electronics, and motors and windings and stuff that is new. It's never really been blended like that before in a commercial duty truck. So some of these companies that have the best knowledge in these structural areas are maybe the weakest in other areas.
Mm. I'm wondering about the ecosystem we're not in Detroit. We're not in Kansas anymore. We're here in Southern California in beautiful Orange County. How is the Can you describe the ecosystem around you that's supporting you as you're bringing your company into the market?
Yeah, I mean, half the team is basically in California, half the team's in Michigan. So it's kind of funny when you come out to California, everyone's a software and electrical engineer. If you ask someone to do some gear designs or gear calculations or structural loading, it's difficult. Whereas back in Detroit, that's everybody. Everybody is the traditionalist, I'll say. And there aren't as many software guys. There aren't as many, on the talent side, electrical guys. So it's a neat thing to see, but it allows me to I know what Detroit has to offer. I've got a lot of colleagues and contacts there, and meeting new and picking up new contacts and colleagues here in Southern California, and it really is the best of both worlds.
So as you're out showing the eRhino, talking to partners and potential clients, what has been the response to what your vision is, Bradley?
We don't believe you.
Okay.
It's
like too good to be true, or
yeah. So that's kind of some of the response, and we're getting ready to build some vehicles to demonstrate the efficiency, the weight savings, the performance increases, because and it's the stigmatism of kind of what happened with EVs over the past 5 or 6 years. You've had a lot of companies, even in California, startups, and some of them are still kicking around, but they burnt a lot of money, $100-200 million, and didn't really have anything to show for it. And so that's kind of what people are, they're putting a line in the sand saying, well, I mean, these guys couldn't do it for $200 million. What are you going to do? It's kind of funny, but at the same token, that's kind of the argument we face. And, you can't possibly package into a Class 2 vehicle and put it into a semi truck, and all I can say is, yes, we can, and we're working on doing that.
And that's why I was saying earlier, enabling technologies. I mean, it's it can't be done until somebody does it, right? It's impossible until it's no longer impossible. It's innovation. And that's where it sounds like you are with the eRhino and the vision that you have for this solution.
Yeah, there's a lot of innovative stuff, certainly in the design. We've pushed the design to the edge on, let's say, 5 or 6 design fronts. But as far as like complete out of the box, like there's way more exotic motor designs that we could go to. There are, different gear design, so there's a lot of things that if we wanted to significantly increase risk, we could have done that. But let's say, we're a current powertrain maybe is 80% efficient, a little under 78% efficient. We're at 94. We could have done some things to the design to get to 95. And so there is a roadmap to continue innovation, and we will do that. I mean, that's how we're going to stay ahead of our competition is continually to innovate. But, we can get the first 15% right now with what, the cutting edge technology basically on all these different platforms. And that's what we've done.
Is this your first pure entrepreneurial venture where you're the founder? And
It is. It is. Yeah. I've had real estate companies and that kind of thing, rental houses. And so I've always dabbled in some of that stuff, but, owning a bunch of rental houses and starting a powertrain company are little different.
A little different.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt alone or isolated on this journey?
Yeah. I read a lot of stuff, and they're like, being a CEO is tough. You got to make these tough decisions. And it's one thing I didn't envision, and everybody's got your network, your family, your friends, your business partners, whatever. And my vision of how this was going to come together is not how it's coming together at all. I've lost friends, I've lost family, I've lost business partners, connection with a lot of people. Again, which I didn't expect, However, in the same, the flip side is I've had people that, have made impacts and helped in ways that, it made a negative impact on their life, whether it's financially or something else. And they didn't have to help me. They did it because they're a friend or they're an old business colleague or something. So, it comes and goes. You gotta stress the guys that are with you, and this isn't an easy thing, and it's the determination required to do something like this. You've got to be willing to fight, and not everyone is. It's not an easy thing to do.
It's the hardest thing to do in business, in my opinion, is to start a company. The world doesn't know it needs you. And it takes a lot of energy and perseverance to push through the resistance. And a lot of people can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one more time. That's the difference between success and failure.
Right.
One more time. We've certainly failed at a lot of things, but we've been able to push that one extra time every time up until now. So we're going to keep doing that,
The other side of that is there's nothing sweeter than when you're successful and you know what it's taken to get here, which is an extreme commitment on your part and your team's part.
I certainly look at startup CEOs differently, and I don't know if a powertrain company is any different than, the Pet Rock guy or, whoever started whatever company. I'm sure there's. Now, I think mine's more difficult because of some things, but that's just me flapping, but certainly, it's going to be sweet. Victory will be its sweetest for sure.
Yes. So I wonder, do you have a piece of business advice that you have been given that you use as a foundation that you can share with our audience today that could help them?
Oh, man. Clear vision and focus. You gotta keep a clear vision, a clear focus on what you're doing, and talent is one thing, intelligence is one thing. I mean, you got to know some stuff to do something like this, but man, it's the determination and the desire that you want to do it is probably tenfold over these other, the talent and the other things. You just really have to just get kicked 1,000 times and get back up 1,000 times, and you kind of learn to appreciate it. If it was easy, A, everyone would do it, and B, you wouldn't be able to cherish the victory. So it is, that's just, it is what it is. It's my dream job. It's what I'm trying to do. And, this axle is just the first axle in a powertrain line, so we've got other stuff that we're working on, and there's a smaller version of this. And again, more kind of a holistic approach of what the market is and what can sell in the market. And eventually it will be, customer will be selling directly to consumers, so like a B2C, where if you want to, upgrade a pickup truck or a vehicle, you can do it very cheaply and simply. If you can put in an audio system in a car, you can electrify it.
Wow, I can see why people might say to you, that doesn't sound like that's even possible.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. So that's the vision for the future, huh? You've got ideas beyond what you're doing today. So
yeah.
I have to ask, you're married?
I am. Yep.
And what I've learned from other founders is you got to be on the same page with your spouse because of the journey. How has that been for your spouse as you've walked this journey as a founder and CEO?
It's been a little rocky, for sure, but we're pushing through it, but yeah, it's like I said, it's a challenge, not only time, effort, financially, it's a high stress situation for a while. It's not a tough week. It's like 3 tough years.
Yeah.
So, but my wife's been super supportive, and she's behind me. So, we'll get through it.
Yeah, that'll be nice to celebrate the wins with her as well as you start to rack them up. If someone would like to connect with you on LinkedIn or learn more about your axle systems, where do you tell them to go, Bradley?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn on the internet. You can either Google or just go to LinkedIn, Bradley Ketchel, or there is a Ketchel Axle Systems LinkedIn page and website as well. But they're all, my last name Ketchel is very unique. There's not so many Ketchels, so that's part of the reason I named the company after me, which in the beginning I wasn't real fond of. But as soon as we did that, I mean, we're at the first page of every search engine submission, and and can get a lot of good online traffic from that. So it's been a really good decision to do that.
So I didn't ask you earlier if you have another. How big is this market? I mean, what's the potential?
The truck market is, so there's a couple things. The truck market is expected to grow 30% compound growth over year up until like 2035. What is sort of spurring some of that is the California legislation that is pushing electrification of fleets. So not only is it pushing the purchase of new vehicles, but it is pushing total fleet percentages. So if you have a fleet owner with 50 trucks, you need 25 of them to be electric by X date. And I think it's 2027 or something. And it's a glide path. So those are the companies that have to somehow electrify the trucks. And that is one area where the eRhino is developed and designed, is to be able to drop into the current suspensions of all these repowered vehicles. And we can, again, sort of maintain the mass, so we don't need to change the frames or anything. You can easily and somewhat simply repower these old gas vehicles. You tear out all the stuff with the gas fuel tanks, and then you put an electric battery system in there and run that. And then that puts your fleet requirement over the California requirements.
So that's why you said earlier you can retrofit internal combustion systems, because there is the market driver that could make that attractive for companies that have fleets. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is, it's starting, and the cost will eventually trickle down to the consumer. We've been working with Recology. We've had some discussions with them. They're a refuse company here in California. Well, their garbage trucks are $1.2 million, and they need 50% of them. Wow. 2,000 trucks, 2,500 trucks in the next 5 years need to be changed to electric somehow. And electric trucks are one, my math's a little rusty, but 2,500 times, 1.25 million, it's a big number.
It is.
And the guys over there, they're like, well, garbage is going up. Price is going up.
I don't mean to laugh at that, because
it's
not a good thing.
Whereas a garbage truck is an ideal candidate. It's all stop and go. So all the heat with the you could capture that energy. So the repowering of some of those vehicles as well is just, it's going to become a reality. And it's just now sort of starting to a lull that's going to start to pick up. And the other point is there's enough vehicles out there that the fleet owners know that electrified trucks save money. So it is cheaper to field an electric vehicle than it is a diesel or LP or any of these other vehicles. So,
well, that's important.
Yeah.
That's a driver. Yeah, that's so, the bottom line.
Yeah, so eventually we need to get the cost of the electrification, the powertrain systems down low enough that you don't need subsidies to actually recoup your costs, because they do recoup your costs.
Wow. Tell you, the longer I talk to you, the more I'm a believer. I tell you. How
many you want? We'll pen you in, Rick.
Okay, yeah, put me on the list. Yeah, well, maybe you come over some weekend. We'll drop the engine out and the powertrain.
Yeah,
put an axle and a Ketchel system in there, and I'll be driving it around, baby. I'm already driving a Mirai, so
yeah,
I'm very much into new technology. So
yeah,
I really appreciate this time today. I told you at the top of the show, ladies and gentlemen, we had a good show planned for you, and Bradley, you did not disappoint. Thank you for your time.
No, I appreciate it, Rick. Great talk. Thanks for having me on again. It was fun.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've just been a part of Orange County's longest running business talk show. Bradley's show is going to join our catalog of 1,500 episodes that we've done over the last 15 years of the radio show. If you're an Orange County entrepreneur or you lead a nonprofit organization here in Orange County and you too would like to be a future guest on our program, it's really simple. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. Send me a connection request. Put a message in there that you're interested in being a guest. And between Haley, our producer, myself, we can get you ready. If we are connected already on LinkedIn, just send me a message and we'll be happy to talk to you about the process. We make it as painless as possible. And we'd love for you to share your story with our audience. And until the next time we all have a chance to be together, I hope all of your business decisions move your organization in a positive direction.